looking inside you? Well then, give us a call and you could be a guest chef on the show Soup to Nuts. That's right, you could be sharing your gastronomic creations with all of us. So give us a call at 881-1653. Or if that's busy, then give us a call at 881-2189. That's right, you could be a guest chef on Soup to Nuts.
Hi, welcome to Soup to Nuts. I'm your host, Brian Arusi. Today we're going to be cooking chicken and broccoli over bow-tied pasta. We're going to be starting out with sauteing a little chicken in the oil. I just add the amount of oil I feel, but you can, if you want to measure it, you can be about 3/4. I'm a half a cup around, whatever you like. What you want to do is get that hot. Once that's hot, you can add this chicken, and you can add as much as you want. I just usually buy the chicken tenders, the real thin tenders, and cut them up into thin slices, bite-sized chunks, and add those. You want to get those really steaming in the oil. Once the heat gets up, it'll start kicking in. Put the cover on. While that's happening, the water's boiling for the bow ties. I also have broccoli here that you can either boil freshly or you can buy the frozen kind, whatever's quicker and easier for you. And you just chop it up, and that's added in almost at the end of the dish. The whole key to this dish is you want to have everything come out at the same time you want. It usually takes around 12 minutes once the water's boiling for the pasta to cook. So we usually have that water boiling a little and then add the chicken in. And once everything's done, you add it all together and the whole thing should come out perfect. So as that chicken's going, I'm going to get some of the garlic ready. This garlic you add at the end though with a garlic crusher, but we're going to peel some of it now. An easy way to peel garlic is you just flip it over and use a flat, wide knife and just till you hear it pop and it'll peel right open for you, instead of trying to peel it with your fingers. If it doesn't work, just do it again. This dish is the one I like to cook a lot because other than the oil, there's really not much fat in it. There's a little in the chicken, but usually if you get picky, you can take the skin take all the skin. Usually the skin's off, but you can take the excess skin, which I usually do off because nowadays people, it's really health conscious to watch your fat intake. Olive oil we're using is one of the better oils to use, though it does have fat in it. But the percentage that you're getting on your plate at your serving is very minimal, so it's really not that bad. I like a lot of garlic, as you can see. Most people, you can add what you really like. I like a lot. Okay, now the chicken's really starting to go. You just want to flip it over and get it on both sides. You can cook this as fast. I like to cook it very quickly to get it browned, then slow it down because you don't want to draw all the juice out of it because it'll be really tough, but due to time, we have to get this going a little quicker than usual. See how the water's doing? It's getting there. Hopefully it'll be quicker. Getting there quick. I usually add the broccoli in towards the end too because it will get real soft. You can add a little salt and pepper. What I'm going to be using to crush this garlic is a garlic crusher. It's easier than chopping it up, and this is kind of like, it'll crush it very thin, so it'll kind of like liquefy in there almost. If you buy one of these, make sure you get a stainless steel one or a heavy duty one. Don't make the mistake that I did and buy a plastic one. The first time you use it, it breaks. You're better off, if you use garlic a lot, you're better off getting a heftier one. I'm going to add the pasta now. You know it's not boiling all the way, but it'll get there. 1 pound of bow-tied pasta, called farfalle. That means, in Italian, that's butterflies. That's what it's called in the store. So if you go to look for it, ask for farfalle pasta. You can see the chicken starting to brown a little now. Mix it up. We're on cover. Turn the chicken down a little once it starts to brown up. Usually when I make dishes with oil, any type of oil, you can add oil to the water, just very little, because when you're cooking a pound of pasta, it tends to dry out when you strain it, and that might, depending on how much oil you use the first time, it might be you might hit dry spots. But people make the mistake when the only time you use oil and water in your pasta is when you're making something with oil. You don't ever want to put oil in the water when you're making something with sauce, because the oil repels the sauce. And the oil won't stay. I mean, the sauce won't stay on the pasta that you're making if you add olive oil or any type of oil into it. Some people know that, most people do. But you'll see if you try it sometime by accident, you'll see the sauce slide right off. But by adding the oil, it'll kind of coat the pasta when it comes out, so it already have oil. It'll eliminate the dry spots that you might get if you don't use it. The whole time for this takes about, once that gets going, it's about 12 minutes once the chicken gets going. You want to make sure the chicken's cooked all the way, obviously, because you don't want to serve anyone food that's not all the way cooked. But once this is almost ready, depending on how brown you like the chicken. Right now I'm going to add the broccoli to it. Mix it in. Usually you don't add the garlic towards the end because garlic doesn't take that long to cook, and if you burn it, it'll ruin the whole dish. You can never want to burn the garlic. Give this a little stir. Another reason why people added the oil is because it sticks. But if you're making linguine with some sauce, you add the pasta in. You got to, at the very beginning, once it starts to boil again, you got to move it around and make sure that it's spread out. That's the mistake people make. They throw it in, and they forget about it, thinking that they don't have to touch it. But if you don't touch it, it's going to clump up together. That's why people started adding oil. But like I said, you don't want to add the oil with the sauce, because your sauce won't stay on your spaghetti when you go to eat it. That's not good. Okay, it's going to be ready to crush once. At the very end, once I add it, you only want to leave the garlic in about 2 minutes, just to get enough for it to secrete its oils through the the dish. This is starting to boil now. Should be ready shortly. Okay, it's almost ready to add. You can see some of the oil absorbs into the chicken as well, the broccoli. It doesn't seem like you have as much as you started with, obviously, but it really is in there. Sometimes you can add a little more if you feel like there's not enough in there, but when you add the oil and the water, that should take care of the whole thing. All right, now we're going to crush this in there. You just stuff the garlic in. Squeeze it down. Usually take a knife and cut it. Just keep adding more in. I like a lot. I know people are probably saying it's a lot, but garlic's very good for you also, for your cholesterol too. The more you eat, the better you are. That's the way I look at it. I like to eat it a lot. Once you get that, you want to stir it around a little to get the garlic out throughout the whole dish. You can see the garlic sauteing in there, but you want to turn the heat down now because you don't want that to burn. Actually, you can just shut that burner right off and just let it cook in there. Put the cover back on if you want. In the meantime, this should be almost there. Okay, we're going to flash the recipe up now. When I come back, I'll show you the entire dish and all mixed together.
Hello there. Is there a gourmet chef looking inside you? Well then, give us a call and you could be a guest chef on the show Soup to Nuts. That's right, you could be sharing your gastronomic creations with all of us. So give us a call at 881-1653. Or if that's busy, then give us a call at 881-2189. That's right, you could be a guest chef on Soup to Nuts.
Welcome back to Soup to Nuts. Now I'm going to mix both of these together for you. I'm going to drain the pasta. These pans are very nice and easy to handle. And just add the chicken mixture right on top. Now you just want to mix them together. The reason I use bow ties is because I like bow ties and it goes well with this dish because they're not really big. They're good sized noodles that you can pick up with the other ingredients in this. But when you're choosing your pasta for whatever type of sauce that you're using, if you're using a sauce like a tomato sauce, you want some type of big pasta that the sauce can go into the slots, like a ziti with the lines in it, where the sauce can go into different portions of it. And also the spaghetti, it goes well with spaghetti also. But you wouldn't want to use the zitis that are just smooth and small because the sauce rolls right off. So you just mix that together. Add your, I use fresh Romano. I don't have it with me, but fresh Romano that you can get in your grocery store or your Italian specialty store that you grade yourself. You don't want to use any of that stuff in the box because that stuff in the box, in my opinion, tastes like the container that it comes in the box itself. And my feeling was with any fresh garlic or fresh cheese, you can make any dish that you want taste excellent because you're using fresh ingredients at all times. So if any of you would like to write recipes into Soup to Nuts or would like to host the show, we're going to flash our address and phone number, and we'd like to hear from you in the future. So my name is Brian Arusi. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Soup to Nuts.
Hello there. Is there a gourmet chef looking inside you? Well then, give us a call and you could be a guest chef on the show Soup to Nuts. That's right, you could be sharing your gastronomic creations with all of us. So give us a call at 881-1653. Or if that's busy, then give us a call at 881-2189. That's right, you could be a guest chef on Soup to Nuts. This is New England. There's a lot to see, especially through the eyes of a landscape painter. It's the place we live, it's the place we breathe. Think about those old back roads you used to know that lead to New Hampshire and Vermont. Think about good old Massachusetts. And what is it about those old back roads that make us feel so good? Maybe it's the long stone walls that have so much history. Or maybe it's the silliness of driving by a cow and shouting, "Cow, cow," just because he's a cow. Or maybe it's being a little kid and rolling around in the autumn leaves. Or the whiteness of winter in January. What is it that makes New England? This is the work of Ralph Ayer. Recently, he had a show at the Danforth Museum in Framingham. It's a collection of work from 1930 to 1960, a look back at New England. This is Ralph Ayer's New England. Ralph Dwight Ayer was born right around the turn of the century in 1909. Growing up in Woburn, Massachusetts, he truly was a New England native. He first became interested in art while in high school. At this time, his sister was in art college. And after high school, he himself went on to art school to see what it was all about. After art school, he got a job teaching at the Museum School of Fine Arts. Unfortunately, this was right around the time of the Great Depression, and they had to let him go because of hard times. Fortunately, his family business was able to support him at this time, and he traveled throughout the country, searching for the perfect landscape, viewing the country
country through the eyes of an artist. By looking at his work, one can see that he was in love with the natural beauty of the landscape. The distant hills, the swaying trees, the 6 million subtle shades of green. Hazy skies cover grassy valleys and paintings of houses that blend right into nature. The houses seem to harmonize right into the landscape. The houses take on their own character. They are the personality of the painting. Fields of the greenest grass twist and grow around them. In Ralph Ayre's images, a feeling of warmth is created. There's something wonderfully familiar about those houses, about those hills, those fields. The images are immediately appealing to anyone who's enjoyed a spring day. Ralph also finds just as much beauty in the whiteness of February, in the coldness of a New England winter. In the winter, the landscape is completely transformed. Under deep snow, a whole new world is created. The cold air is clearer, the painted edges are crisper, and the grass turns yellow ochre. Time stands still in winter, frozen onto the canvas. He painted the scenes of winter we like to remember. Cold but soft snow, quiet but warm houses. In 1956, Ralph Ayre bought a house near the coast of Maine. There he could paint the sea and the sky. He could capture the small New England coastal towns with an artist's eye. The paintings in this show are about New England. They reflect an interest he had all through his career. A love of painting and a love of landscape. This is Ralph Ayre's New England. We move now to a completely different kind of landscape, from the familiar landscapes of New England to the harsh and barren worlds of the moons and planets, to the strange and distant landscapes of outer space. This is the work of Steve Gilday. Recently, he had an exhibit at the Danforth Museum in Framingham. Steve Gilday is an artist who draws his inspiration from our solar system. Up close, lunar craters become abstract. Cool grays become mountains. Blue shadows become valleys. The main focus of his show was a large painting containing 9 panels. The painting takes us on a voyage through our solar system, each panel giving us a glimpse at one of the 9 worlds. Hung together, they are unified to form one tremendous form, one planet. Our voyage begins at Mercury, the innermost planet. It has a landscape with countless craters and long cliffs stretching hundreds of miles across the surface. Thick yellow clouds obscure the view of Venus. The clouds are made up mostly of sulfuric acid. They never lift or part to reveal the surface. From high above in space, we see the Earth. Our field of vision is filled with oceans of blue. Covered with red sand deserts, canyons and cracks, and white patches of ice. Mars, perhaps the planet most like us. Over Jupiter, the largest planet. Jupiter has no solid surface. It is completely made out of gas. Beneath us, colors twist and turn on a landless world. Saturn, perhaps one of the most compelling objects in the night sky. Its icy rings of every conceivable color have long fascinated artists and scientists. The smooth, featureless world of Uranus. Its atmosphere is made up mostly of methane. The gas only absorbs red and orange light, reflecting back the brilliant blue-green color. Neptune. Its atmosphere is also made up of methane. Cutting out all the light from the red and orange spectrum gives it a rich blue color. And on the far edge of the solar system, there is Pluto. Pluto is one of the darkest and coldest planets. Its surface covered with black ice. Things I Missed on the Way to Mars shows astronauts free-floating in space. A spacewalk with a twist. The astronauts have brought with them all the necessities of home. In the weightless world of space, even everyday objects become surreal. The images are a contrast of the harsh vacuum of space with the fragile living images of Earth. Steve Gilday not only explores the outer reaches of the solar system, but also of our imaginations.